Ever walked past a plant and thought it was just another rock on the windowsill? Because that is exactly the trick these little survivors play on your eyes. Today we are diving into succulents that look like stones or tiny pebbles but are actually living plants that thrive on almost no water and tons of attitude. Some of these guys evolved in harsh deserts where blending in with rocks literally saved their lives from hungry animals. They grow slow, stay compact, and make even the smallest desk or shelf feel like a mini desert museum. What blows my mind is that a single healthy plant can live for decades and still look like it is part of a gravel path. You do not need a green thumb here, just bright light and the patience to let them do their quiet magic. If you love weird plants that make guests ask is that real, you are in the right place. Let us jump into the top 11 stone lookalike succulents that turn pebbles into pure plant art. Karoo Rose is one of those succulents that people walk past thinking it is just another dry pebble sitting in the pot, but this little survivor from South Africa has mastered the art of camouflage to an extreme level. In the wild it grows in rocky deserts where rainfall can be less than 200 millimeters a year, so its thick gray leaves stay tight and low to the soil to avoid losing moisture and to blend perfectly with stones around it. At home it barely asks for attention, needing water only every 2 to 3 weeks in summer and even less in winter, which makes it ideal for busy people or anyone who forgets watering schedules. Give it bright and direct light or a few hours of soft sun and it will slowly push out new leaf pairs that look like tiny stacked pebbles. What really makes it special is its survival trick. During long dry periods it can actually shrink back into its old leaves to conserve water, almost disappearing into itself like a real rock. This plant grows only a few centimeters tall but can live for decades when kept dry and well drained in gritty soil, proving that beauty does not need size or drama. When friends visit they will swear it is fake until you tell them it is alive, and that moment alone makes growing Karoo Rose worth it. Haworthia Cooperi looks like a handful of glassy pebbles that somehow decided to start breathing, and once you notice it you will never mistake it for an ordinary plant again. Those plump bubble-shaped leaves evolved in the dry regions of South Africa where light is harsh and water is rare, so the plant stays low to the ground and stores moisture inside its clear tips like a natural water tank. It only needs watering about every 2 weeks in warm months and once a month in winter, making it one of the easiest succulents to keep alive on a desk or windowsill. Bright and direct light keeps the leaves compact and jewel-like, while too much sun will turn them reddish, which many collectors actually love. The whole plant usually stays under 10 centimeters tall, so it never crowds your space and always keeps that neat pebble cluster look. What makes it a stone lookalike star is how it almost disappears into gravel when planted in a top layer of small rocks. Despite its tiny size it can live for many years and even produce offsets, slowly turning one glass pebble into a whole little colony. Jewel leaf plant is the kind of succulent that makes you look twice because it does not shout for attention. It quietly shines like a cluster of polished stones sitting in your pot. Its thick oval leaves stay low and tight, mimicking smooth river pebbles while storing enough water to survive long dry spells, which is why it can go 2 to 3 weeks without watering in normal home conditions. Native to rocky landscapes, it is built to handle poor soil and bright light, so a gritty mix and a sunny window are more than enough to keep it happy. The plant rarely grows taller than a few inches, making it perfect for small shelves or office desks where bigger plants would be a pain. One of the coolest parts is how its leaves reflect light, giving that subtle gem-like glow that makes people assume it is fake decor. With just moderate care and no fancy routine, this tiny stone lookalike can live for many years and slowly form a compact pebble cluster that feels more like a natural sculpture than a houseplant. Pachyphytum Compactum looks like a pile of frosted blue pebbles that somehow learned how to grow, and it fits perfectly into this stones and pebbles succulent theme. Its thick chubby leaves are coated in a natural powder that protects it from intense sun and helps lock in moisture, which is why it can go around 2 to 3 weeks between watering without breaking a sweat. In its native rocky habitats it hugs the ground to avoid heat and wind, and at home it keeps that same low compact shape, usually staying under 15 centimeters tall. Give it bright light near a window and well-draining soil and it will reward you with tight rosettes that look more like beach stones than plant leaves. What really sells the illusion is planting it in gravel where the leaf color blends so well that visitors often miss it completely. Despite its delicate look, this is a tough little plant that can live for many years with minimal care, proving that some of the best succulents hide their strength behind a stone-cold disguise. Fenestraria Aurantiaca is one of the most convincing stone lookalike succulents you can grow, because most of the plant actually hides below the soil while only its flat pebble tops stay visible. In the wild, it grows in coastal deserts where rain is rare and the sun is brutal, so it developed clear leaf windows that let light pass through to the buried part of the plant, keeping it safe from heat and animals. At home, it only needs watering every 2 to 3 weeks in summer and even less in winter, which makes it perfect for people who forget their plants exist. It stays tiny, usually just a few centimeters tall, and when planted in sand or gravel, it honestly looks like a tray of smooth white stones. The real magic happens in spring when it surprises you with bright yellow or orange flowers that pop right out of those pebble tops. It is proof that sometimes the most boring-looking rocks on your shelf can turn into the most interesting living things in your home. Haworthia Pygmaea is another tiny miracle that looks more like a cluster of wet pebbles than a houseplant, and that is exactly how it survives in nature. Growing in the dry regions of South Africa, it stays low to the soil and packs its thick rounded leaves tightly together to store water and avoid the burning sun. At home, it only needs a light watering every 2 to 3 weeks in warm months and barely any in winter, which makes it ideal for anyone who travels or forgets their plants. Bright indirect light keeps its shape compact and its surface glossy, while too much sun can add reddish tones that make it look even more stone-like. The whole plant usually stays under 10 centimeters tall, so it fits perfectly into tiny pots or decorative bowls filled with gravel. Over time, it produces little offsets, slowly turning one pebble clump into a whole miniature stone garden that just happens to be alive. Lithops Karasmontana is the plant that truly earns the nickname Living Stone because it looks exactly like two little pebbles fused together. Native to the deserts of Namibia, it evolved this shape to avoid being eaten, since animals walk right past thinking it is just another rock on the ground. It needs incredibly little water, usually once every 3 to 4 weeks in the growing season and almost none in winter, making overwatering the biggest danger. Bright light is key to keeping its stone pattern sharp, and when planted in coarse sand, it completely disappears into the pot. What makes it unforgettable is its yearly leaf change, where the old leaves dry up and a fresh pair of stone-like leaves push through the middle like a tiny magic trick. For a plant that rarely grows taller than 3 centimeters, it delivers more drama than most full-size houseplants ever will. Lithops Julii looks like a couple of smooth river stones pressed together, and in the wild, that disguise is the only reason it survives. It comes from the harsh deserts of southern Africa where rainfall is scarce, often under 150 millimeters a year, so the plant learned to store water deep inside its thick leaves and keep almost its entire body hidden below the surface. At home, you only need to water it lightly every 3 to 4 weeks during active growth and stop almost completely in winter, which makes it perfect for anyone tired of babysitting plants. Bright light keeps its stone patterns crisp and its colors clean, while too much shade makes it stretch and lose that pebble look. Once a year, it rewards patience with a daisy-like flower that pops out of the center of those fake rocks, turning what looks like gravel into a living surprise. Adromischus Cooperi looks like a pile of speckled pebbles that somehow learned how to breathe, with thick rounded leaves covered in dark purple spots that make each one look like a tiny painted stone. It comes from rocky areas of South Africa where water is limited, so its leaves are built to store moisture and easily handle 2 to 3 weeks without watering. Keep it in bright light and it stays compact and chunky, but give it too much shade and it will stretch and lose that stone-like charm. The whole plant usually stays under 15 centimeters tall, making it perfect for small shelves or coffee tables where bigger succulents would feel bulky. What really makes it special is how the leaf pattern changes with light and temperature, turning it into a living piece of pebble art that looks different every season. With a simple gritty soil mix and a little neglect, this plant will quietly thrive for years. Titanopsis Calcarea is the ultimate fake rock of the succulent world, with leaf tips that look like they have been carved straight out of limestone. Those rough, bumpy surfaces are not just for looks, they reflect harsh sunlight and help the plant survive in dry, rocky deserts where rain is rare. In your home, it only needs watering every 2 to 3 weeks during warm months and hardly at all in winter, making it a stress-free plant for anyone who tends to overcare. Bright light keeps the leaves tight and stone-like, while low light makes it stretch and lose its rugged texture. The plant stays small, usually under 10 centimeters tall, and blends so well into gravel that guests often miss it completely. Then one day in fall, it surprises you with a bright yellow flower, proving that even the roughest-looking stones can hide something beautiful inside. Lithops is the grand finale of stone lookalike succulents because it barely looks like a plant at all, just two rounded pebbles sitting quietly in a pot. Native to some of the driest parts of southern Africa, it evolved this shape to avoid being eaten, since animals walk right past thinking it is part of the ground. It needs very little water, usually once every 3 to 4 weeks in the growing season and almost none in winter, and too much care is the fastest way to kill it. Bright light keeps the patterns sharp and the body low, helping it stay true to its living stone disguise. Every year it performs its signature trick by shedding the old leaves and pushing out a brand new stone pair from the center, like a tiny rebirth happening in slow motion. For a plant that rarely grows taller than a few centimeters, Lithops delivers more wow factor than almost anything else you can grow on a windowsill. If you never thought a plant could pass as a rock, these stone and pebble succulents probably just changed your mind. They prove you do not need big leaves or flashy colors to make a space interesting. Sometimes the quietest plants tell the coolest survival stories. Try adding just one of these to a sunny windowsill and watch how often people lean in asking if it is even real. If you enjoyed this little desert adventure, hit the like button, subscribe for more unique plant finds, and drop a comment telling me which living stone you are adding to your collection first.